Hello and welcome to another episode of Weltengeist. Now that we've gone over the basic principles of the Arts of Kinetics from the previous video, I will introduce you to more advanced and dangerous techniques that are possible if you exceed the limits of nature. To ascend beyond the natural barrier, you first have to reach what is known as the gestalt. This level of understanding completely changes, if not nullifies, the foundations of even the most basic kinetic principles. One such form of kinetics is known as the pathic and is said to be an ancient gift by the goddess Avenal to chosen humans. With this level of training, one can manipulate and control living beings with an equivalent level of Weltengeist, such as other humans, for example. The secret technique has been concealed by a small group within the Nevurian elite to enforce their dominance and status quo. This secret organization is also called the Sixth Pillar, as the Gestalt is often referred to as a legendary Sixth Pillar in kinetic teachings. Among typical kinetics, the Gestalt level is more of a legend or rumor rather than an achievable class, and there have been many theories speculating as to how one can attain the Gestalt level. The official opinion is that only the ancient, legendary grandmasters of the kinetics were allowed to reach the Gestalt when they proved to be worthy enough to the goddess Avenal. Another theory suggests that reaching the level of Gestalt is only possible through years of meditation to perfect the pillar of mind. Due to the spread of this belief, younger kinetics risk starvation or even death by attempting this extreme meditation, going so far as to refuse any offerings of water or food. In reality, neither theory is necessarily accurate as to how the Gestalt is attained. The pathic level can only be reached with an extreme, if not unnatural level of Weltengeist, along with a comprehensive understanding of the Weltengeist itself. Of course, the perfection of the pillar of mind still plays a fundamental role in reaching the Gestalt, as you will understand later. To advance your level to such a degree that you are able to manipulate not only other humans, but the Weltengeist itself is physically impossible through natural means. Because of this, only supernatural methods can achieve this level. And to our knowledge, it can only be done with the forbidden technique of absorption that was taught by Avenal to some chosen humans in the Divine War to use against her brother Tanud and his armies. The absorption technique effectively extracts the Weltengeist from an entity of equal strength to the user, and assuming the Weltengeist is compatible, the user will absorb that power. With the absorption of Weltengeist, the kinetic will break through the barriers of their own being and can ascend to the Gestalt level. Because of the need for compatibility, it is not possible for a kinetic to absorb the Weltengeist of an animal or lesser beings and ascend to the Gestalt level. As a result, the kinetics who follow this path are dependent on fresh, living Weltengeist, which can only be found in healthy and equally powerful individuals. Those who know the technique acquire their victims with targeted assassinations and abductions to perform the human sacrifice ritual in order for them to ascend from a chosen kinetic into the ranks of the pathics and from there reach the Gestalt level. But there are also cases of pathics who think that only one absorption is not enough and turn to absorbing more and more Weltengeist, unable to be satisfied. Nature, however, doesn't like to be fooled, and as punishment for their numerous selfish murders, these greedy few will fall into madness, voices start to speak within their mind, and their humanity is slowly lost. It is speculated that the human mind and body isn't capable of controlling as many Weltengeist as these pathics have absorbed. Therefore, the mastery of the mind pillar is so important at these power levels, so the pathic can be able to control themselves and the energies under their control. The ones who absorb more than one Weltengeist are systematically chosen by the mysterious leaders of the Sixth Pillar, and they will decide who will be worthy to exceed the power of all kinetics before them and will become one of the strongest entities in this world. Due to the secretive nature of the true Sixth Pillar, there are few pathics to be found. You have to know that these pathics are the shadow government of Nevuria, controlling the population with mind control and other darker methods. What is even less common than a Pathic itself is the moment when a Pathic is chosen to become a Coalescence, the product of multiple absorptions. This decision is rare since most rituals fail dramatically and end in the death of the Pathic, whose own rarity makes such rituals very costly. We can name 3 different categories or stages of a Coalescence depending on the amount of Weltengeist the Pathic consumes: the Tangled Ones, the Faceless and the Divine. The most basic form of these monstrosities are called the Tangled Ones and have absorbed the Weltengeist of up to 4 people. The original Pathic must have an extremely strong will and highly developed Geist pillar in order to control the Tangled Ones, since the smallest inconsistency can cause the absorbed Weltengeist to rebel from the inside. The Tangled Ones are extraordinarily powerful and shouldn't be underestimated, retaining human aspects but lacking emotional restraint. Nonetheless, the Pathic is still able to retain their consciousness and maintain control over the body and their former self in most cases. The Faceless describes the second level of Coalescence and controls far more absorbed souls. The identity of the Pathic person is fused with the identities of the absorbed Weltengeist, and an entirely new entity emerged, which acts in a cold and calculated way, lacking emotions, individuality and humanity. The Faceless are named such due to the absence of any true form, as they can change their appearance and voice at any given moment, but lose their original shape. The Faceless can be described as all the souls that were previously absorbed that now control the shell of a human body. The Faceless' incredible power, lack of loyalty and the tendency to go insane makes them quite rare. Kill one man and you are a murderer. Kill thousands of men and you are a conqueror. Kill millions and you are a god. True to this quote, the Divine are the union of an uncountable amount of Weltengeist and are no longer human in any capacity. A divine being is an entity that possesses incredible power and is wholly separated from their humanity. There are not many beings who can compete with the divine, so even Avenal or Tanut, considered gods in the world of Raja, would have difficulty fighting a divine being. Therefore, very few divine beings exist on Raja, for they often only result from the downfall of entire kingdoms and civilizations. One of the last living divine is the god emperor of Navoria, who absorbed the Weltengeist energies of over 100,000 human beings and Mosteli after the divine war with the assistance of Avenal. So far, we have only talked about the outer kinetics and the forbidden sixth pillar. In the more northern kingdoms, however, a different form of kinetics developed, the inner kinetics. As a form of kinetics, the inner kinetics also possesses the same source of power, the Weltengeist. In addition, inner kinetics is based on the same pillars as outer kinetics, but these pillars work inwards rather than outwards. This system will be examined further in the following videos, but it is essential to understand that the inner kinetic doesn't influence the outer world, but rather the inner world of the user. In less abstract words, this means that in order to use the inner kinetic, you need a strong connection between your mind, body and your Weltengeist. The powers of the inner kinetics are reflected through the enhancement of your body's ability in speed, strength, sight, reflexes and even size. As the art of kinetics is despised rather than appreciated in the northern culture, the inner kinetics is still a book with 7 seals, whose mysteries are waiting to be revealed. But with the conquest by the Navorian Empire towards the north, some slaves told their stories of a legend of warriors deep in the ice deserts in the far, far north that have invincible skin and can tear down walls of entire cities with their bare hands. Tales of giants who stomped mountains into hills and wiped out entire cities in a single night. Whether these legends are told by the Renanian slaves are true or simply lies spread as a form of comfort is a topic for another video. And on the subject of legends, there are children born in the world of Raja that have the splinter of a former god embedded within their souls. These children, known as Elovari, are capable of incredible feats, almost miraculous in ability. Yet their fate isn't a happy one, as the god that grants them these powers wishes to recombine his Weltengeist from these splinters, which is accomplished by killing one of the Elovari after another, causing havoc across whole kingdoms and nations, as Elovari often tend to be in high high-ranking positions. There are many more mysteries to be solved and stories to be told across the world of Raja, so I hope you will stick around and we will see you again in the next episode of Weltengeist. Goodbye.